ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Chairquisition. This week, the game on the chopping block is Outland by Housemarque Studios and published by Ubisoft. It's on a custom engine. You can pick it up for $9.99 wet stinky euros or space bucks. And it is a fast-paced, dynamic platformer where the player uses the powers of light and dark in an epic journey to save the world from the forces of chaos. Basically, it's like Metroid with Ikagura, if you remember that PlayStation 2 game, if you had a PlayStation 2. So, let's not hesitate any more and run it through the ringer. Bring up the chairs. 1 chair means that it's shit. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that's pretty good. 4 chairs means that it's awesome. We also have our categories of doom mixed with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So, Ben, let's kick this off. Did the game make with the working?
How does it run over here on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS 980 powered 4K displayed box of business? You might wonder. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everything ran out of the box except for VSync. And when I say it didn't work, it worked. I just could not uncheck it. There was no way to get it disabled. It always was floored at 60 FERPs. And I felt myself screaming at the top of my lung organs. Why am I being forced to play this nice-looking game in 4K at a constant 60 FERPs with minimal tearing? Oh, the huge manatees! Really, that was nothing to ding at a chair about, so I'm going to give this the 4 chairs it deserves. It's looking good so far, J-Man.
Yeah, so far. I don't know. Downloaded this game today, actually. And when installed it, started it up, nothing. Checked PS, processors there, nothing. So I said, maybe I'm missing a library or something. Go to command line. Go to the folder, set LD library path to the current directory lib, run it, no output. And so I said, this is going to be hard to review the game. So I went and checked it out on the, so that box I was referring to was the 1090T NVIDIA 670 superclocked Fedora 2164-bit box. I hauled on over to the other room that has the Fedora 20 64-bit box with the A10 5800K APU on the open source drivers, spun that up, and it worked fine, so I gave that a shot there. So I was almost convinced that this game was completely busted on my Fedora 21 box until I figured I actually installed some dependencies for Nave, I think it was. Nave from the news segment. Reboarded this machine just to try it one more time before we started recording. Lo and behold, it started up, so I gotta ding it a chair for that, because it eventually did work. But you need to tell me why your game is busted so I can fix it and play it. 3 chairs.
Yep. It is a platformer bullet hell type thing, and it claimed on the Steam store page that it had full controller support. So I sat on my couch, played it on SteamOS on the Steam box, the unofficial Steam machine that has an AMD Athlon X4 860K and an NVIDIA 750 Ti, and it ran. No problems, no issues. The controller was recognized, so I can't really get a chair. 4 chairs.
All right, so that's 3 chairs from Mix with the Working. Up next is Shinny and Signs. Then, how did it signed?
It's signed. I was not thrilled about playing another platform game because, you see, ladies and goyles, and guys, and everyone else, zombie demon hordes of the internet, I was trying to get us to play transsexual lesbian chainsaw hookers from Mars, if you want to be correct, son. I really wanted to do an early access review of Besiege, but I was outruled, so okay. But the first thing out of my noise tube, my mouth organ, while playing this was, well, at least it's pretty. The Fox mocap of your character is done quite well. It really gives you a sense of motion and movement throughout when you do it, because it is a platformer / bullet hell. And oh look, directional sound in a 2D platformer. That's, neat? Question mark, I guess. It's a thing. That said, nothing about the sounds or immersive whatsoever. Not even in the slightest. They're just there to provide some oral entertainment to let you know that you've thwacked things. And it's not jarring, but considering the visual eye candy being thrown into your eye meats, maybe some auditory stuff would go along with that. Narration's alright, I didn't hate that guy. So I'm going to give it 3 chairs. I think visually overpowers the fact that the audio's there, but you're still wondering why, Brad.
Yeah, it's certainly pretty. They have the whole light, dark, neutral motif with the red, blue, and the yellow, and it works for the most part because you're using the whole primary color thing. The music is a bit of all right too. It's sort of, it meshes very well with the visual motif of sort of that ancient, ruiny Aztec feel. I don't really know how to describe it. And the narrator, he again, like Ven said, he does a pretty good job of attempting to give the story some gravitas. But again, you can only go so far with the material you're given. Yeah, like Ven said, the real standout here is the visual aesthetic because it's very, very well done. It captures what the game was going for, and I think it really did a good job. So 3 chairs for that.
Yeah, so here's the thing. The game starts with a black and yellow character traveling through yellow
racist.
and black drop. So I kind of lost sight of what I was doing more than once. After you've progressed far enough, that's no longer an issue because you have the same black and yellow character going around different colored backdrops. And that's fine. You can actually see your character.
Are you saying your character's Blasian?
Let's go with that. Blasian. But then you hit a level with a black and blue backdrop at the exact same point that you get the powers of light, which means that the yellow neon things on your character's armor all of a sudden become blue. So a problem that sort of kind of fixed itself is now a problem again. And I did very much like the narration, and the combat animations were well done. The whole freeze frame things when you smack a creature with the sword actually makes you feel like you're accomplishing something instead of just waving a feather duster around. Still, losing sight of your character in a 2D platformer bullet hell type thing is not a good thing, so I have to do it 2 chairs.
All right, so that's 2 chairs for Shinny and Signs. Control is next. Ven, did you feel like you're in control?
Hallowed all the chairs and hallowed all the X-Clone controller. Because this business just worked out of the box. The buttons, they were all matched properly, and it does rumble like fuck all, but only when you get to the end of a certain level, or any level actually, and you're like, oh, here's the light thing, get ready. Then you lay the controller on your desk organ and kind of race it, or whatever you want to do. That's it about the controls. They're tight. I was a bit worried about using the swivelly D-paddy thingy for movement, but again, no issues on that. Buttons worked, one mashed. So, I'm going to give that 4 chairs.
Yeah, the controls work fine on the Xbox 360 controller. That is not an issue. It is your standard Metroidvania fare where you have your attack, your jump, your dash, all that good stuff to get you over the various obstacles. I am going to ding it a chair, though, just because you slide when you land, which makes sense in terms of real-world physics. But when you are playing a bullet hell platformer, it is super easy to overshoot your target. Because you have to then keep into account the fact that your guy is going to slide about an inch after he lands, and that's no good. So not enough to give it a 2 chair, so I'll give it 3.
Must have been 1 angry inch.
Well, it
6
does
inches
claim
forward
full
and 3
controller.
inches back. I got an angry inch.
It does claim full controller support, and it did not disappoint. The PS2 DualShock that's connected to the Steam machine worked fine, and I didn't actually try the NVIDIA controller, mostly because I doubt NVIDIA has fixed the firmware to the point where it's considered workable under Linux. So I just tried it with that. It worked. It rumbled. Good on them. But I have to ding it a chair because it doesn't allow you to rebind the buttons on the controller. It has 2 schemes you can alternate between. There's a regular one and the alternate one. And neither of those was particularly good neither of them were anything I could call good, at least for my hand. So I'm gonna have to give it 3 chairs.
All right, so that's 3 chairs for controls. And finally, our subjective category, fun. Ben, did you enjoy yourself?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, I give you Dust a Melee, the game. Now, here's the thing, Brad. I'm 54-minute organs in, and nothing has genuinely happened at all. I'm still playing a platformer game, and it still is like, well, we're going to teach you this new thing. And I'm like, that's a bit long. And the groan of pain. Right when I started, you should have heard it. It was amazeballs when I noticed there were things that you could slide through or crawl under, but I didn't have the ability to do such. Ugh, wow. Okay, well, kids, this is a time-honored tradition of extending your game's playtime without really adding anything. Backtracking, always fun. Oh,
Castlevania.
No, it's not. But at the end of the day, take that shot. It's a competent Metroid platformer thingy of things, and it reminded me of Dust and Guacamelee. But don't think for 1 second it borrows from them. No, this came first. Especially, it hit me with the sliding and backtracking. I was thinking Dust. Then, not too far when you first start, you get in and you get your light and dark, red and blue abilities, and it's like, that's Guacamelee. Then I went and looked up, and I'm not saying it started with this game, but this was first. So if you're a fan of backtracking, pick it up. I mean, it's $9.99. It's not overpriced by any means for what it is. And if 54 minutes in and you haven't seen a boss and you're not really doing anything appeals to you, go for it. If not, wait for a sale, then pick it up. I'm not going to tell you not to pick it up, because it can definitely be fun if you're into the whole Metroidvania type platform business. But for me, I'm going to keep playing it until I get to, because everyone's like, oh, you gotta wait for the epic boss fights. And I was like, there's bosses in this? What? When is that, at the 2-on mark? I don't know.
What year is this?
2 chairs. Kind of a middle-of-the-road score. Not bad, not really good. J-Baby.
Yeah, like Ben said, it is certainly a competent Metroidvania game, but it really is nothing special. There are much better examples of the genre out on the Nix right now, i.e. Dust and Guacamelee. But yeah, just going through the map, very early on, you can see all the points where you basically have to go and backtrack. And once you get the slide, you start seeing, oh, you need to have the teleport skill to use this. Oh, you need to have the red skill to use this. Oh, you need to have the blue skill to use this. And it's just good.
You need to have friends to use this.
Oh yeah, it's just like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna have to go over all these levels again. The game really, one thing I've noticed is that the game really does take a page out of the Castlevania fuck you enemy placement game. You really have to be patient and analyze every single pattern and every single variable of a jump, because if you fuck up, you will very likely get shot down back to the very beginning, and it's super annoying to navigate through all these jumps again. It gets really, really frustrating after the 4th or 5th time. The other thing I noticed is that you really have to commit to your jump, and when you're doing that in a bullet hell game, that's just kind of a recipe for disaster, because again, you have to be sure, 100% certain that you're going to land that jump, or else you're going to get killed to death by spiky bugs and blue dots or red dots. I don't really mind the Ikagura mechanic, where you have to switch between the two the what?
Ikaruga,
whatever. Ikaruga mechanic.
Imgur.
Where Arch! No, where you have to switch colors to fight certain things, but I think it's a bit inconsistent, because no matter what, the enemies will hurt you. Their attacks won't. And that just kind of weirds me out, because if you're blue, you should be able to bypass the blue guys. It sort of seems that the motif they were going for there is a bit inconsistent. Again, it's a competent game. It's not really special. I'm going to have to give it 2 chairs. I'm about an hour and change in. I haven't gotten to a boss fight. Apparently, I'm a little behind Pedro, so he can tell you more about that.
I've played the game for about an hour and a half, and I'll echo what both of you just said. It is a very competent Metroidvania platformer. It would be a proper platformer weren't it for the fact that I keep losing track of where the hell my character is on screen because the character has the exact same color scheme as the backdrop. Not nice.
Try it in 4K.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. But yeah, Jordan was talking about the boss fights. The boss fights are boring and uninspired. It will take you 20 seconds to figure out the boss's pattern. But after you've done that, it's just grinding. It's just, oh, okay, he's done his attack, just climb on his arm, smack the head, there you go. Apparently, there are some bosses that have higher complexity at a later point. I honestly couldn't deal with it anymore. I played for about an hour and a half. I just couldn't do it. I had made my opinion of this game at around 20 minutes in, and that extra hour and 10 minutes that I played did not change my opinion. And, well, I kind of have to stand by what I said with the Wooden Sensei review. I don't like platformers unless they do something different, something that sets them apart. And this game doesn't really do anything different for me. All the mechanics have been done much better and in much better games like Guacamelee and Dust and Elysian Tale, or even much worse games like the one we reviewed last week, Isbra. Yeah,
Isbra?
the bullet hell.
Bruh.
Yeah. All the bullet hell thingies, yeah, I'm sorry, but I can only give this 2 chairs because I can recognize its worth, but it's not for me. I can't.
All right, so that's 2 chairs across the board for fun. And if we tally everything up, we get 2 whole chairs for Outlands. Gentlemen, final thoughts.
I don't know what this game is trying to be exactly. Yeah, I want to be a platformer, but there's definitely a strong element of bullet hell in this.
Yeah.
But it makes you patient. There's little things like that I'm almost tempted to throw an asteroid, or whatever her name was from Fringe on it. Because you have to think. You can't just rush into this. There's several times where you're just faced with something with all the pews and the pews and the pews. And you're like, okay, we're going to time this and time... Oh, no, I'm killed to death. Then you got to come back and you're going to try that again and again until you eventually get through it. But on that same thought organ, I never felt a sense of accomplishment. It wasn't, yes, I beat it. I was like, I finally made it. Not fucking bullshit. All right, what's next? So, I stand by what I say. I mean, if you like something like this, pick it up half off. You won't regret it, J-Man.
Yeah. What you bring up a good point about not really accomplishing anything, because when you get through a particular challenge, you're like, okay, now where's the fucking checkpoint so I don't have to do this shit again
Where's
if I get killed to death.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of those checkpoints are pretty few and far between, especially in some of the more complicated platforming bullet hell segments. And it's just like you die and you're like, oh shit, I gotta do this again. And again, and again, and again, and again, and again.
It is a goddamn pain in the ass. So, really, if you like platformers, you like Metroidvania type games, get Guacamelee, get Dust and Elysian Tale. If you like bullet hell platformers, on the other hand, yeah, get this one, because Isbara is not quite there. This one is actually a better alternative. But I don't know. I guess it takes a special kind of someone to like a 2D platformer Metroidvania with bullet hell elements. I'm just not that kind of person, but maybe you are.